So by the time I post this video, Christmas will actually be over, but New Year's won't have happened yet. So I think it's still appropriate. Welcome to my mental breakdown. I'm actually going to go ahead and start this video by slapping a trigger warning on it. I'm about to talk about comedy in film and television. I'm specifically talking about two movies in a television series, and they all have either a suicide attempt or a successful suicide right at the beginning. So if you want to zip out of here to avoid that, here's your opportunity. I think using comedy to address tragedy is actually a very effective coping mechanism, and it's one that is especially effective for me. So I wanted to kind of share media that I've found to be therapeutic or helpful. So if it's something that you haven't checked out yet, you can check it out. Or if you have suggestions, please let me know. All about that. The first is called Wrist Cutters, A Love Story. I haven't seen it as recently, and I actually saw it before I had accepted the fact that I had a problem that I needed to deal with. Right at the beginning of the movie, the main character kills himself. At the time that he does it is in a relationship. The girl who he's with, he's very happy with and very much in love with, but as is often the case when you commit suicide, it has nothing to do with that. The movie creates this afterlife world for people specifically who kill themselves. They go to a very particular place. It's kind of a purgatory-esque, not that much different from Earth. One of the lines that sticks out for me, I'm not going to get it word for word, but it's something along the idea of it's the ultimate punishment because everything's exactly the same, it's just a little bit worse. The guy who commits suicide finds out that his girlfriend also committed suicide, and he goes to try and find her. The thing I think that I like about it that made it work for me was how kind of nonchalant just everything is. He dies, and that's just the way it is. And then he's in this afterlife, and it's just the way it is. It's very subtle and simple. And the idea of what the afterlife would be for someone who commits suicide, I think it's a great concept. You know, they are technically being punished because you're not supposed to commit suicide, but also the characters get a second chance to find each other and sort of address the things that were wrong the first time around. So I think that's actually a positive message, and it's done in a really funny, humorous way. I want to address how humor is used in these movies in this show. They are not making fun of the disease, nor are they making fun of the people who have it. What is funny in the situation is how people respond to it and the weird little ways that it creeps up and disrupts things. That is funny, and that's okay. Because the nature of it, and because it can be such a serious thing, and because people kill themselves, people shy away and they think, oh, this is something we're not allowed to joke about. You are absolutely 100% allowed to joke about it. As I mentioned earlier, I think that it is a great way, actually, for people who have it to find some sort of release. It doesn't work for everyone, but for people like me, it's actually the only way I can make it through is by finding things like this. The second movie is a movie I've seen 5 billion times and is not actually about depression per se, but one of the lead characters has depression in it, and that movie is Little Miss Sunshine. Frank, the first scene that we see him in, he is in the hospital with his wrists bandaged after attempting to cut his wrists. It is an interesting juxtaposition to see how much he clearly cares about things by the end of the movie, because in the beginning of the movie he's staring blankly out a hospital window and he doesn't care, and by the end of the movie he is running as fast as he possibly can, just trying to get his niece into this stupid beauty pageant. And it's not like he's fixed. He doesn't go from being ill to being well. It just shows how someone who can be in the situation that he's at the beginning can arc so much in the course of just a couple of days. I think it's a very true portrayal of things that I've experienced. Like, I go from one day being like, I just don't care, nothing matters, and then the next day I find myself caring so tremendously. That movie does a really good job of showing arc. It's a really good performance, it's well directed, it's amazingly written, it's probably my favorite screenplay. But there's a lot of really serious stuff, and it gets very dark, but they always use it in a humorous way. Again, that's kind of that thing that I like. It's using something unexpected and just going in a different direction with it. That is how you humor. trying to make things funny. So the last thing that I want to talk about is actually the reason that I made this video in the first place. There is a show that I was watching on a streaming platform called CISO, which then got shut down. After it got shut down, it was revealed that this show was going to be getting a second season. Now the reason that that was happening was because it is a British show, BBC was producing it, I'm American, we don't get that here, so it can get kind of hard to find certain British shows. And that was one where I was lamenting the fact that I never could watch season 1 again. Out of the blue, I had no idea that this was happening. One of the actors tweeted that Netflix had just dropped both seasons. And the show is called Flowers. There are very, very sad things that happen in it. It is traumatizing and heartbreaking and fucking hysterically funny. If I could show someone something that was like, this is what dark comedy is, I would show them a scene from this show. So this show, again, starts with a suicide attempt, and where the humor comes from in this is a lot of just people kind of misunderstanding each other. Who was trying to commit suicide gets confused. Normally, mistaken identity type shit drives me up a wall. I usually don't like it at all. But the way that they do it in this show is really well done. I'm trying to be vague kind of with all of these things because I want people to see them and experience them for themselves. The thing about that show that's so interesting is all of the characters are dealing with something. They're dealing with something really hard and really dark. The comedy comes from the fact that all of these people trying to hold it together doesn't work, and it inevitably just keeps spinning out of control, and their relationships with each other break down, and they try to build them back up, and it kind of works. Then it starts to fall apart again. I mean, ultimately, they're family. It's a dysfunctional family kind of show, not unlike Little Miss Sunshine. Now that I've sucked all of the humor out of them by explaining why they work, I really would suggest seeking them out if you haven't, and if that's the sort of thing that you're into, and if it's something that you can handle. Again, I recognize that for some people this doesn't work for them, and it's a counterintuitive way of dealing with things, but for me, it really works. I'll see you in the new year, I guess. You've been watching my mental breakdown. So like I said, I would love to hear any recommendations if anyone else has any good humorous film or TV shows to check out. Let me know. I want to know. Or if you have any thoughts on the shows that I talked about, you can subscribe, you can watch a playlist with all my previous videos on it, you can like, you can share, it's all down there. You know the drill.